Welcome again, guys. Um, Economic equivalence. What is the meaning of economic equivalence? Let's read first and we explain what we read. It's a combination of interest rate and the time value of money to determine the different amount of money at different points in time that are equal economic value. Let's see what does it meaning. This means, okay, usually we understand that the present value is in the time zero and the future value after any time of years, and I% is the interest rate, and we may have some A's within this period. Okay, I can do something. I can just move from A to F to B on this way. I can say the equivalent of a cash flow, let's say, just remove this. I can say I can get the equivalent of P after n years to make it F, and this is the equivalent. By the use of interest rate, this is N, I just changed the present value at 0 to future value after n years by the use of I. I can also do that if I have single annual payments from 1 to n years, annual payments from 1 to n years. I can do this. I can change the whole cash flow to 0 as a present value by the use of n years and the I%. Or even I can change all the annual series to a value after n years to future. So this future is equivalent to this annual series. This present is the equivalent to the annual series, and vice versa. I can just switch between the present, I change the present to bring the A equivalent for the money I have now to a certain amount of years, or I can just say how much can I estimate or should I save every year if I need F amount of money after n years. Okay, and this is the equivalent, the economic equivalence. So the concept of economic equivalence is based on make economical comparison between different alternatives. If you remember in our first lecture, we said we must be consistent in our judge. If you want to be consistent when you compare between different alternatives, you need to use either A or either or F at certain year. Let's say N. If I say N, I cannot compare two machines. This has a life of 5 years and the other have a life of or has a life of 6 years. This is not consistent because they have different lives of years, years of life. And even present, you can also compare between presents, but you cannot compare between future value and present value. You need to be consistent. That's why if you have the future value for a project and you have the present value for the other project, you need to find the equivalence in one of them. So if I need to find the equivalent, I need to compare based on the future. I need to find the equivalent of the machine which has present value right now. So what should I do? I just get the equivalence of the present to F value and then compare between these two comparisons. What do I need? When I use the equivalent basis, I need the interest rate, amount of money involved, the time of monetary receipts and expenses. Okay? If I understand that I need the interest rate, so I need the interest rate to do the economic equivalence, I need to understand the different method of interest. The first method to interest is the simple interest. And in this method, we don't have much thing to learn. It is a linear relationship between the interest rate, I, and the principal value, P. So the, the interest amount, which is the increase over the principal amount, I have the P, and I need to know what will I have after n years. So it will be I plus P. This is in simple interest can be estimated by I, the future value, let's say I plus P is estimated by I can be estimated by P in I. P multiplied by N, number of years multiplied by I. And P is the principal amount of investment, I is the total earned interest, I percent. This is the total, this is monetary. The value itself of money, dollars. I is the interest rate per interest period. This is percent. N is the number of interest periods, and so the total amount repaid, like we said, is P plus I. So this is the increase over the principal, and this is the principal. Let's take an example. The example says that if $1,000 is loaned from 3 years for 3 years at simple interest rate, so this is simple interest rate of 10% per year, what is the total interest and the total amount repaid? So we have the total interest I, and the total amount rebound is P plus I. Okay, the total interest amount is I equals to 1,000 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 0.1, it is 300. This is the increase over the 1,000. This means that the new principal after 3 years is 1,300. This is P star. Let's say P star. 1,300 after 3 years. Okay. Okay. So what is the next step? The next step is different type of interest. We said we have a simple interest, and usually we don't use it. Most of the monetary treatments are using compound interest rate. So what is the compound interest rate? Interest occurred for each interest period is calculated on the principal plus the total amount of interest accumulated in all previous periods. So every time I accumulate I for every like the first year I have P, the second year I have P plus I, the third year I have P plus I plus I, the fourth year is I have P plus 2I plus I, and this is for the second year, and so on. All this should be multiplied by interest rate. Okay, so the compound interest is the principal plus all occurred interest multiplied by interest rate. Okay, so let's take it in different way. The example says that if I have $1,000, it means that the interest amount will be for 10%. I have $100 after first year. It means my money will be $1,100 by the end of the first year. So by the beginning of the second year, I will have $1,100 by interest rate, or at interest rate 10%. My interest will be $110, which means that I will add this to this. It will be $102,010, and so on. So at the beginning of the third year, we have $1,210. The interest rate will be based on this number, based on 10%. So it will be increased by accumulating way. So the compound interest can be estimated by this mathematic way. After the first year, I have an amount of money plus the interest, which is pi plus 1. After the next year, I have pi plus 1 as a principal. This amount we may call it x. So this is x. Then I have amount of x. So x multiplied by I again. So it will be x I plus 1. Same as this. X here equals pi plus 1. So pi plus 1 multiplied by I plus 1, it will be pi plus 1 power 2. And if we do this for a certain amount of year, we will understand that the total due after n years is pi plus 1 to the power n. So let's discuss how time and interest affect in a next video.